Hi, sewing friends. On behalf of uncommonthread.com, I'd like to thank you for downloading our video this month. I'm going to talk to you about Sulky Solvy stabilizer as well as the Sulky Super Solvy stabilizer. My name is Michelle Umlauf and I am a certified Sulky teacher. I'm also going to show you how to create this stylish notebook cover using these stabilizers. Well, let's talk about the Salvi and the Super Salvi stabilizers. These are made of a clear film that is non-toxic, and it's actually made out of a polyvinyl alcohol. Basically, there are three types of Salvi stabilizers. There's the Salvi and the Super Salvi, which we're going to talk about today, as well as the Ultra Salvi stabilizer. And I talked about that stabilizer last month just for a short bit, just to give you an introduction to it. The Salvi stabilizer is the lightest weight of them all, and it has a really soft hand and drape. And you can pretty much tell that by this picture. You can see that it just kind of gracefully falls down. On the other hand, the Super Salvi stabilizer is a mid-weight stabilizer, and it has a little bit more of a hand to it. It's considered to be 2 times as thick as the Salvi stabilizer. So basically, that is the difference between these two stabilizers. They are available in a variety of sizes, as you can see here. And they come in this really cool clamshell plastic case. It's actually a packaging that not only protects, but it helps you dispense this stabilizer really neatly. We also recommend that you store your stabilizer inside the packaging that it came in, as well as putting that inside of a sealed Ziploc bag. Now, why do we recommend you do this? Because this is a water-soluble stabilizer, and it will dissipate upon contact with water, and humidity really is not its friend. The Solvy stabilizer can be used for a variety of applications, as you can see here. Commonly, it's used as a topper for embroidery, and you can also use it as a topper when you use your embellisher machine instead of using like a tool or something like that. When you do sew with your sewing machine, you can use this to do thread sketching or quilting or applique. It's really cool for creative machine arts and crafts. You can turn this into a liquid stabilizer, and that's pretty cool if you have just a little area that needs just a little bit of more stability, such say that you're placing a buttonhole or something like that. You can also transfer designs using the Solvy stabilizer. You can draw or trace a pattern directly onto the Solvy stabilizer by using something like a Sharpie permanent marker, or you can use the Solvy as a one-time template. The Super Solvy stabilizer, remember, this is about 2 times as thick as your Solvy stabilizer, so you can use it for work that is that has a little bit more needle penetration because it's a little bit more strong. You again can use it as a topper. That's perfectly fine. You can do cut work. You can use it to sew decorative stitching on the edges of your fabric. You can do it to make lace, open work, large block monogramming. You can also use this to transfer designs. You can also use it to do 3D applique, as well as turning your applique projects. These stabilizers are very easy to remove. What you want to do is gently tear them away. If you're using multiple layers, you want to tear one layer away at a time. If little bits of stabilizer are left behind, you can use a damp Q-tip to help release the residue. If need be, you can fill a bucket with mild warm water and soak and agitate your project. It's safe to discard the water in your flower bed, and perhaps, or in fact, that's even kind of recommended that you use it outside and not dispose of it like down your kitchen sink, because depending on how much stabilizer is in the water, it could get a little messy. And you just want to repeat this process until all of the stabilizer has been removed from your project. So let's get on to making our stylish notebook cover. This was so much fun and I think it is really addictive. Um, you see here all of the supplies that you need. They're the Sulky supplies as well as your needle. And at uncommonthread.com, you save 15% off retail every single day. So please be sure to visit us to shop for your supplies for this project. What you will need is an 8-inch roll of either the Salvi or the Super Salvi stabilizer. I happen to use the Salvi stabilizer. You'll also want some Sulky Cutaway Plus stabilizer, and the size really depends on what size you want your project to be. You're going to use a 90-14 Schmetz top stitch needle, and I used a vintage pattern. You'll also need a rotary cutter and mat, and perhaps some old pinking shears or a scalloped rotary cutter. You'll need things such as a notebook, some embellishments, an inexpensive paintbrush, a plastic bowl and spoon, or a plastic or glass container, as well as some very hot water. So let's get started. You're going to cut a piece of the Sulky Cutaway Plus, and you really want it to be larger than your finished size. So I kind of guesstimated that the largest thing I'm going to use out of this is the size of my envelope. So I just cut my Sulky Cutaway Plus larger than the envelope itself. And I found an interesting section of the tissue, and I ironed it flat. Then I cut apart my envelope and I pressed it to make that nice and flat, because you can see that this envelope was much loved or very worn. So we're going to make some Sulky glop, and this is really cool stuff. You're going to shred your Sulky Solvy using a rotary cutter and mat. Now really, how much of the Salvi or the Super Salvi do you use? You know, I don't really have a formula for you. Sulky does recommend like shredding up the entire roll, but I knew I didn't need that much. So I just took a couple yards. I don't know, it could have been 3 or 4 yards at a time. And I made my glop. So it's just totally up to you. You can make the whole roll if you want, or you can just make a little bit as you need it. So basically you place the shredded pieces of the Sulky Solvy or Super Solvy in your bowl, and you're going to add just a little bit of water at a time. And I want to emphasize just a little bit of water. I'm talking like maybe tablespoons of water at a time. And then you just start to stir this vigorously by hand. You don't want to use any type of kitchen appliance to make this easier for yourself. That's a no-no. And you're going to see it kind of dissipate, and it's going to form this runny paste. And you want to make sure that your paste is runny and you want it to be nice and smooth, okay? Then you're going to apply the Salvi glop onto one side of your Cutaway Plus, and you want to make sure that you're working on a surface that you don't care if it gets messed up, or it's very easy to clean up. And you're just going to use just a regular old inexpensive paintbrush to apply the glop. Then you're going to place your pattern over the glopped Cutaway Plus. Now you can see that I have some little bit of wrinkles in my project, and I really have gotten over being an anal type of person. But what happened was I forgot to take a picture or something as I was making this, and I had to pull the pattern off and put it back down, and that's when it became a little wrinkly on me. I suppose you could use something such as a brayer that you use for like applying wallpaper to kind of work these wrinkles out, but really I think it adds a lot of texture and interest to the project. So once you have your pattern down, you're going to apply another layer of the Salvi glop over the pattern. And now you can hang it outside in the sun to dry, or you could place it on a non-stick surface such as your applique press sheet and let it dry overnight. You want this to get thoroughly dry. Then just take the remaining glop and pour it in a container and store it in the refrigerator. Now it's important to label the container because we don't want anybody out there consuming this Salvi glop. So the next day, or after your project is completely dry, you can iron it again to make the curled edges nice and flat, and you can place it underneath a heavy book just to make it nice and flat. Now we're just going to work in layers. So you're going to apply another layer of the glop on the dried piece of work. And then you're going to add some embellishments, such as threads or bits of fabric, little things like that. And then you're going to cover that with another piece of tissue paper. Now you can use colored tissue paper or you can use just plain white tissue paper. It's totally up to you. And then you're going to apply more Solvy glop over top of that. Now, when I show you the next side, you maybe might ask, why did I put that layer of tissue paper over top of the threads? Well, I don't know. But one of the reasons you want to do it is you want to have a layer of tissue paper over top the threads, because once you go to apply that glop, you'll be pushing the threads all around. So that's one of the reasons why you don't want to do it that way. But it worked great, and it has like a nice hand to it. It's a pretty thick piece. So after I've done that, I'm going to position my pattern envelope over top of that again, and then I'm going to apply more Solvy glop to that and finish it up with another layer of tissue paper and another layer of glop. Now that I'm finished, I'm going to place my piece on the non-stick surface and I'm going to let it dry. But we're going to give you a shortcut this time. Now that our base layer is dry, you can do this method with the subsequent layers. Okay, so you can't do this in the initial phase. You can go to your kitchen and set your iron to 300 degrees. And then once it is preheated, you want to turn it off. So did I say that? You want to turn your oven off. And you're going to place your non-stick applique pressing sheet. You can put that on a cookie sheet and stick that inside your oven, which is turned off, and let it dry. Now I went out for the day and I probably came home around noon, so it stayed in there for a good 4 hours or so. When the piece is dry, you can iron it flat again, and then you can apply some decorative stitches. And my absolute favorite thread is the Sulky Cotton Blendables threads. I just love, love, love them. And I used a triple stitch around the Simplicity label, and then around the pattern itself I used a zigzag stitch. I think it's actually called a triple zigzag stitch because it has a few stitches in between the zigs and the zags. So it just adds a lot of interest. So once you've done all of that decorative stitching, you can trim it down to your desired size, and I chose to use a scalloped rotary cutter just to give it a little bit more interest. And before I do anything else with my project, if there's something else you want to apply to it, such as sewing on a button or sewing on anything, now is the time to do it. Once you have all of your embellishments in place, you can affix your piece to the notebook with a permanent spray adhesive. And what I did is I took my piece of work outside, I sprayed the adhesive on the wrong side, I brought it back inside and placed it right on top of my notebook. And there you have it. It's very simple, very easy, and I think it's just so inspiring. After I made this one, I just couldn't stop looking at it, and I just keep getting ideas of what I can do with this. So I hope you really enjoy this project, and we at Uncommon Threads would love to see what you do with this project. My name is Michelle Umloff, and I own Sew Simplified. You can visit my website at www.sewsimplified.com, and when you become one of my sewing friends, I will send you instructions, or allow you access rather, to the Not Your Grandma's Bowl. I teach online sewing classes, And here's just an example of some of the other classes in my classroom. The So Fabulous Pin Weaving uses the Solvy stabilizer to kind of help you gain more confidence in your free motion quilting. And the confetti scarf is also partly made with the Solvy stabilizer and another type of water soluble stabilizer. So I have a podcast. It's available on iTunes. So search for me as So Simplified, and also give me a like on Facebook under So Simplified. Well, I thank you very much for your time today. And on behalf of Uncommon Threads, remember that you receive 15% off retail every single day. Not only do we sell Sulky products, but we also have Schmetz, YLI, Metler, and a variety of other fine sewing products. So take a look at our online store. You can send us an email at uncommonthread@comporium.net and look for us on Facebook. Do a search of uncommonthread.com and give us a like.